Welcome, dear friends, to the Military Reporter channel. As always, we continue to make a selection of what is happening on the front line. The descendants of the glorious characters are fighting in the forests of Zaporizhzhia. 10 Ukrainian armed forces soldiers were eliminated in a matter of minutes. In the early morning, when a thick morning fog was spreading across the forest belt near Zaporizhzhia, a group of Russian special forces, moving stealthily, began an operation to clean up the alleged stronghold of the armed forces of Ukraine. Maneuverable and experienced as a shadow, the special forces of the Russian armed forces came into contact with the enemy in the depths of the forest, where the Ukrainian military were trying to set up a temporary firing position. Under the cover of pine trunks and dense bushes, the Russian fighters split into two groups. The first one bypassed the flank, taking the positions of the Ukrainians in a cross. The second one carried out a rapid contact capture. The horsemen did not expect a blow from the rear, and in the first minutes of the collision they were completely confused. The sounds of gunfire cut through the morning silence, but it didn't last long. Precise and well-coordinated work, a high level of training and intelligence did their job. 10 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in just a few minutes. The fight ended as quickly as it had begun. The operation, which the military called a cakewalk, was another illustration of the tactics and determination of Russian units regaining control of critical areas of the front. As the fighters themselves say, "We are the descendants of those who beat the Poles with sabers, and the spirit of our ancestors leads us through the forests of Zaporizhzhia. They shoot from cover and we go in the face." The video, taken from the helmet camera of one of the raid participants, shows how, after a short transfer, the fighters take up positions, and through the lens of the thermal imager the silhouettes of the enemy are fixed. Then there was a lightning attack, short bursts, and silence. At the end of the operation, the trophies were seized. Small arms, ammunition, documents, and personal belongings of Ukrainian soldiers. A prisoner has been taken, who has reportedly already been transferred to the relevant services for interrogation. A spectacular fragment of the work of an elite Russian sniper. Thermal imaging footage shows how Ukrainian soldiers disembark from an armored personnel carrier and move towards the positions of the Russian armed forces in order to set up an ambush. However, the sniper, having taken an advantageous position, immediately notices them and opens accurate fire. A few shots are fired, and the APU offensive is still on the way. The ambush is foiled, the enemy is neutralized. Dear friends, if the video is interesting to you, support it with a like and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases. And to be informed, click on the bell. Thank you for watching, and we will continue. Elite Russian sniper is working with Barrett MRAD rifle of .338 Lapua Magnum caliber, using Swiss AP260GR ammunition, armor-piercing cartridge with high penetration capacity and stable ballistics. It has a range of 1,016 meters. Standing position with bipods, arm rest and shoulder stock provide maximum stability. The sniper carefully tracks the target through the telescopic sight, and the thermal imager helps to detect movement against the background of vegetation. After a precise calculation of wind and range corrections, a lightning-fast shot is fired and the target is hit with the first hit. Everything happens silently, coolly, and filigree, the typical work of a professional. The archive footage captures one of the operations of the assault squad of the 382nd Marine Battalion of the 810th Separate Guards Brigade of the Black Sea Fleet. The action takes place in a dense forest in the Pokrovsky direction, in conditions of difficult rough terrain, where every movement requires the utmost secrecy and coherence. The operation begins with the jewelry work of a sniper from the squad. He eliminates several Ukrainian soldiers hiding among the trees, clearing the way for the main group. Acting quickly and silently, the sniper provides the attackers with a safe corridor, preventing the enemy from setting up an ambush. After that, the main group of Russian Marines, taking advantage of the moment, enters the flank of the enemy, seeking to surround and capture the surviving soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine. The final part of the video shows a decisive assault. Infantrymen, supported by small arms and grenades, enter a house and a fortified dugout, where Ukrainian soldiers still remain. A short battle ensues inside, after which the positions come under the control of Russian military personnel. The entire action in the video demonstrates the high level of training, coordination, and morale of the Marine Assault Squad. After the explosion of a smoke grenade on red phosphorus over the position, the enemy from the 200 Brigade amicably withdrew from the trenches, leaving them empty with shouts of "phosphorus down." Another air strike with the use of FAB-500s on the area of concentration of the Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces brigades near the village of Yampol in the Bryansk direction. As a result, up to a platoon of Ukrainian servicemen, 2 trucks, several units of cross-country vehicles with UAV launchers and 2 minibuses were destroyed. Destruction of Ukrainian armed forces soldiers in the Gornal Monastery. Dronovods of the 382nd Marine Battalion, 810th Brigade, flew jewelledly into the window opening of the Transfiguration Church, where the Sushniks had set up combat positions, and aptly killed 2 soldiers. Powerful explosions and fires in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, was under a combined attack of Russian missiles this night. First, the Russian armed forces launched Shakes, then Calibras, then there was ballistics, then there were missile launches from 295 MS, after which there were 2 more waves of Calibras launches. The footage of Iskander missiles hitting a production facility and a warehouse on the territory of the Effect JSC enterprise located near the Levada railway station in Kharkiv has also surfaced. Fresh footage from the front shows the combat work of the crews of the T-98 tank of the 1st Tank Army of the Zapad Group of Forces in the Kupiansk direction. The video captured the moment when the tanks entered the firing lines and performed a powerful drill on the enemy's fortified positions. The crew with the call signs Check and Lotus acts smoothly and confidently. After receiving the coordinates of the targets, the tank comes out of hiding and begins aiming fire with short stops. Shooting is conducted both at the points of defense of the armed forces of Ukraine and at enemy manpower concentrations. Thanks to thermal imagers and modern sights, tankers confidently hit targets, despite dense buildings and difficult terrain. In the footage, the soldiers can be heard commenting on their actions, sharing their experience and noting that all the combat tasks assigned to the crew were successfully completed. Footage of the destruction of an Ukrainian armed forces stronghold near Toretsk by UAV operators of the Southern Group of Forces. Ukrainian armed forces soldiers were left under the rubble of the house in the course of the destruction. Destruction of a Ukrainian rare tank of Slovenian origin M55S near Guliapol, Zaporizhia region, by a drone on fiber optics. A fireball from under the ground. That's how it looked like when a Russian drone detonated a hidden warehouse with fuel and lubricants of Ukrainian armed forces soldiers. In addition, the drones destroyed a camouflaged Gvozdika self-propelled artillery unit. The Russian Defense Ministry publishes footage of the use of the Kh-39 LMUR missile by the crew of the Mi-28NM helicopter in the front line area. The missile is capable of destroying stationary and mobile targets at a distance far beyond 20 kilometers. Destruction of hexacopter Baboigi of the Ukrainian Armed Forces by FPV drone by UAV operators of the assault unit on the Kharkiv direction. At night they caught a heavy enemy agrocopter flying towards the Russian positions. We escorted it and worked on it with an FPV drone. The kamikaze drone carefully drove into an enemy dugout and carried out a controlled detonation of a TM-62 anti-tank mine, destroying Ukrainian Armed Forces personnel. Russian troops destroyed an American M198 towed howitzer in the Kharkiv region with a Lancet kamikaze drone. Zaporizhia direction. The area of Novoandrievka. A kamikaze drone from the 19th Motorized Rifle Division destroyed a Ukrainian T-64 tank. Operator Voronish from the Storm squad destroyed enemy positions on the Zaporizhia direction. The footage shows a drone dropping ammunition on the enemy trenches, thus destroying enemy fortifications. That's all, dear friends. Subscribe to the channel, put likes, and don't forget to click on the bell to not miss new episodes. Leave your comments. Your opinion is very important to us. See you soon.